From having flings with former US presidents to the one that supposedly ended her 16-year marriage, come with us as we dive into the untold crazy sex life of TV goddess Barbara Eden. In 1965, when Barbara was 34 years old, the renowned writer and producer Sidney Sheldon was trying to cast the titular role of his upcoming NBC fantasy sitcom, I Dream of Jeannie. So far, he had auditioned countless brunette starlets. None of them suited the role, making him incredibly frustrated. But then, having heard of Barbara's assets and talents through the grapevine, he approached her with the role. All of a sudden, Barbara Eden's career exploded. She went from just another pretty face in the industry to one of the hottest sex symbols in the country. Though she had an incredible figure, this perception of her was in part fueled by the skimpy crop top that comprised her costume on the show. Pretty soon, she had some of the most powerful men in the country itching to get their hands on her. One of Barbara's major relationships was with her first husband, Michael Ansara. He was a handsome Hollywood actor who appeared in several TV series such as Kane, Buck Rogers, and Star Trek. Barbara met him in 1958 after the two of them worked on the movie Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. They got married and had a son, Matthew, who is the only child Barbara has ever had. The two of them got married way before Barbara blew up. But after the success of Jeannie and all the attention that came out of it, it became very difficult to hold the marriage together. After 16 years of being together, they divorced in 1974. Though Barbara didn't mind much at the time, she came to regret it later in life when Michael finally died in 2013. Barbara reflected on their relationship, stating that he was her one true love and that divorcing him had been a huge mistake. One reason their relationship deteriorated was the stillbirth of their son in 1971, casting Barbara into severe depression. Another thing that made Michael's death even more painful was the death of their other son, Matthew, from a drug overdose. According to Barbara, he was the absolute light of their lives, and they never, ever got over his passing. If you have been following, you might wonder why exactly did the success of the I Dream of Jeannie show start the dissolution of a marriage that had lasted 16 years prior to that? Well, it will become clearer to you later in this video. But before that, it might interest you to know that, marriage aside, Barbara had a lot of entanglements with some of the country's most elite men, especially in her prime years. One of these men was none other than the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. Despite his marriage, Elvis had quite a promiscuous reputation and dated some of the most beautiful women the industry had to offer. Some of these included Nancy Sinatra, Barbara Lee, Juliet Prowse, Mamie Van Doren, and of course, Anne Margaret. In 1960, Elvis and Barbara starred in the movie Flaming Star. At once, the media was abuzz with speculation as to if Elvis had added her to his collection. Till today, Barbara denies any affair and states that Elvis was a gentleman the whole way through. However, she did reveal that Elvis opened it up to her about Colonel Tom Parker and how powerless he was to stop his exploitation. Because of Elvis's crazy fame, he had to spend most of his time locked up in his hotel room. This put Barbara off completely from wanting to become his girlfriend. Despite all of Elvis's infidelity, he was known for being quite a gentleman. But not everyone in Hollywood had his poise. Some would argue that Barbara dodged a bullet by not getting freaky with Elvis, while others may argue it could have been a great union. However, there's one relationship that for sure could have ruined Barbara Eden's life completely if she'd gone deep into it, and that's one with Larry Hagman. During I Dream of Jeannie, Barbara got really chummy with her co-star Larry Hagman, so much so that many fans expected them to start dating. However, this did not happen. The reason for this became obvious as Larry's life and career deteriorated. According to Barbara, he was a great human being, but a very troubled man. She said the two of them had a connection and that she really did love him. However, while working on Jeannie, he began to drink heavily. This led his behavior to become even more unprofessional and grotesque. He would smoke pot between scenes in his dressing room. He would throw tantrums about the poor quality of the scripts he was given. He would show up to work in a gorilla costume to piss everyone off. and he would also piss on set furniture just to make himself a nuisance. One time, he even chased a group of nuns with an axe while shouting obscenities at them. Barbara had no choice but to gracefully deal with all of this. How could she be in a relationship with a man like this? Despite the love between them, there was simply no way. Although it's not easy for her to brush off Larry because of the genuine love she has for him, her greatest test yet would be from the powerful people in and out of the industry who wanted to get their hands on her. 3 of these men are Clint Eastwood, John F. Kennedy, and Tom Jones. With Tom Jones, the 2 of them met when she went to Britain to sing on his TV shows. Jones shamelessly propositioned her, to which Barbara replied, "But I'm married." Jones then replied that he didn't care, and this made Barbara incredibly flustered. She later admitted that she was flattered by his attention and definitely considered his offer. However, she did not want to cheat on her husband. As for JFK, well, while he had a stellar political reputation, he was well known for being quite a ladies' man. After all, his night with Marilyn Monroe still sparks controversial debate even today. With Barbara, he tried to be a lot more subtle, slipping his private number into the pocket of her mink. To his dismay, Barbara never called him. Barbara later admitted that she had been the piece of paper. Even so, she wished she hadn't. You might think someone of Barbara Eden's stature would eventually settle for someone on the same or higher level than her in the industry. I mean, after her divorce from Michael Ansara, lots of men inside Hollywood were vying for her hand in marriage. But instead, she did something shocking. She married someone outside the industry. Her second marriage was to newspaper mogul Charles Fugert. The 2 of them got married in 1977. The marriage between Barbara and Fugert was her shortest ever. Initially, she had been so in love that she moved with him to Chicago. At the time, Fugert had been a man of focus, quickly rising up the ranks at the Chicago Sun-Times. However, he soon began to run around with the crowd that drank and used cocaine. She moved back to Hollywood and divorced him in 1982. They had been married only 5 years. But the good thing is that after 2 failed marriages and lots of flings, it seems Barbara definitely learned her lesson, which she took over to her next marriage with Jon Eichholz. Her marriage with Jon Eichholz is Barbara's longest and most famous marriage. Jon Eichholz is an architect, structural engineer, and real estate developer. The 2 of them have been married for 32 years and counting. According to Barbara, the fact that the 2 of them were best friends before they got married helps a lot. She also tried her hardest to see things from his perspective to prevent arguments. After years of going through a whirlwind of relationships, Barbara was really happy to settle down with John. Though the 2 of them have no children together, they have filled that gap with a pet. Barbara is happy this relationship is low-key and keeps her out of the news. The 2 of them suit each other really well. Barbara Eden is currently well into her 90s. She still carries an aura of grace and radiance around her. She has kept busy as an actress and singer for over 70 years, stating that this has prevented her from deteriorating. Even today, she's still pretty open about talking about her past exploits and relationships. The world has changed much from when I Dream of Jeannie was still on the air. However, Barbara claims that she never saw anything wrong with the skimpy crop top she had to wear. In her own words, she was a genie who had to serve her master. By Barbara's own estimation, she served her master very well indeed. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll also enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click enjoy and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.